So about 1 year ago, I decided I was going to do a self-development challenge, which was basically to read a bunch of books, 140 books, take notes on them, and then produce video reviews of them. Here is my 1 year update. I've learned so much in the last year. I really want to share the benefits I've got from this and the lessons that I've learned. So stay tuned and watch this video. So I've actually spent a lot of time in the last year working on this project. So in total, I've read 34 books now, and I've taken 300,000 words of notes, which is somewhere in the region of 3 times the length of The Hobbit. So that's quite a lot of notes there. But the benefits that this has got me and the lessons that this has taught me has been absolutely massively life-changing. I mean, I can honestly say that I've had more growth in the last year than I've ever had all my other years combined, basically. And I'm just so thankful that I've decided to take on this project. I wanted to kind of talk to you today about 3 of the key things that in the last year I've realized, I've learnt and applied, that's really helped me change the way I think about my life, the way I structure it, and has ultimately given me a lot more reward and benefit by thinking like that. So the key catalyst for all of these changes, I think, is that I was lucky enough to read in my first book about self-esteem, and Nathaniel Branden's just amazing book called The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem, where he just obliterated the beliefs or the understanding that I originally had about self-esteem. And he changed my mindset from focusing on external things to internal things. So rather than getting external validation from other people, I transformed that into internal validation. So for instance, let me give a specific example. Let's say I approach a girl. Let's say I approach a girl because I think she's an attractive girl and I want to talk to her, I want to get to know her, right? And she gives me a bad reaction. Like either she ignores me or, she makes a nasty face at me or whatever. Previously in my state of low self-esteem, that would have affected me quite a lot because I would have placed a lot of emphasis on her reaction, on what she thought about me. That's external validation. I'm trying to seek validation from her. I'm placing a lot of worry and anxiety about what she thinks about me. But having read about self-esteem and how it's cultivated from within, instead of getting validation externally like I used to, I've somehow managed to cultivate that so that I get it internally. So with the same situation, let's say I approach a girl and she does exactly the same thing, I'm now more likely to think something along the lines of, okay, did I do anything wrong there? No, I saw a girl that I liked and I approached her. Am I happy with my actions? Can I objectively analyze what I did and my reasons for doing that and be happy with them? Yes, I can. I'm a guy and she's an attractive girl and I went to approach her. I'm happy with my actions. And even if she chucks her wine or whatever all over me, I can still justify to myself why I approached her. I can still come up with good reasons that are in alignment with my values as to why I approached that girl. And it doesn't matter if she reacts badly because I am happy with those justifications. And that's one of the kind of core lessons I've taken away from the self-esteem work that I've been doing and from reading the 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem. It's like, whenever I get a bad reaction from somebody or whenever something doesn't quite go to plan, instead of actually focusing on what other people are thinking or what other people have reacted to this situation, I'm now much more grounded and more focused on what I believe in, whether I did the right thing. If I can justify it to myself, I'm like the judge and the jury now. If I can justify it to myself, if I'm happy with my convictions, then it just doesn't affect me anymore. And I think this has been massive for me because basically, previously, if you're focusing too much on external validation, you're basically like a sailing boat in the ocean and you're kind of at the mercy of other people around you. If other people are having a bad day and they give you, let's say, a bad look or they say something bad to you, that can affect you in a negative way if you're focusing on getting external validation. But having flipped that internally, I can now say that I'm just have a much more stable sense of high self-esteem and confidence, and I'm just a happier all-round person, basically. This is really useful. Like, I'm really happy that I solved or at least worked on this self-esteem issue first, because what I've noticed is having high self-esteem now, and I can honestly say this is the highest self-esteem I've ever had in my life right now. I can actually look in the mirror right now and be like, ah, you're pretty cool. I've never had that before. I've always, and I think it's pretty common, but I've always kind of had a negative view of myself. I've always kind of had low self-esteem, low self-image, and now it's pretty good. And the reason why I'm happy that I attacked this first is because that kind of permeates into everything else that I'm doing. Everything else I've been working on since then has been a lot easier because I'm coming at this from an internal point of view rather than external. For instance, recording this video right now. Here's another example. I could easily put this video out and I'll get 10 or 15 comments saying this content is shit, I don't know what I'm talking about, talking nonsense, I have no right to be up here on camera because who am I, some guru or some kind. I could get all these kind of reactions, and if I have external validation, if I'm relying on external validation, then that's going to fuck me up. That's going to send me into disarray, question what I'm doing. But because I got the self-esteem issue sorted pretty early on, I'm now pretty happy with my convictions. I'm making these videos because I want to get better at making these videos. I'm putting these videos out there because, you know, it's a self-development exercise. I'm happy with my justification for doing this. And so it keeps me on track. I'm no longer at the mercy of other people giving me negative reactions. And so that was really key for me. In the last year, that has been a game changer for me. And if you kind of resonate with anything I've just said in the last few minutes, definitely read the book, 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem by Nathaniel Branden. In fact, don't just read it, study it. Game changer number 2. Now, this is also just massive. It's like, I wish somebody had told me this in school. I just can't understand why this isn't hammered into kids when they go to school. I wish somebody had told me this. But game changer number 2 for me has been about learning about deliberate practice and a growth mindset. So previously, if I saw somebody who was really, really good at something, let's say someone, okay, continue this video example, somebody who's really good at communicating and good on camera, my initial reaction would have been, that guy just has some innate ability. He's just really good on camera, he's just really good at communicating, his brain's just built like that. I don't have that, so that's just not for me, that's not really where my skill lies, so I should look somewhere else, right? So I had this kind of fixed mindset view on skill and ability. I started reading a few books. One was So Good They Can't Ignore You. One was Talent is Overrated. And finally, I think probably the best one out of the 3 that I really enjoyed more is, or most, is Peak by Anders Ericsson. These 3 all talk about the same concept of deliberate practice. And Carol Dweck also has a book called Mindset, which talks about the growth mindset. And that's really key. It's like understanding that most of the time, in literally nearly all instances, when you see a really high-class performer, the reason that person is a high-class performer is because they put hours and hours of practice in before that you don't see. You just see the end result. You don't really see, you know, hours of bullshit footage, the hours of nonsense communication that this person is given on camera before they got to the point where they're actually pretty good and they're actually pretty comfortable. Just having that shift in mindset is just, it's just amazing. It's like the shackles are off. It's like I can just choose now what I want to be good at. And now it's just a question of putting the effort in. And I just kind of know that I can get there in the end. Whereas before, I didn't think there was any point. I just thought I wasn't really good at, you know, for instance, coming on camera and doing video presentations. I just thought it wasn't me. And so having this change in mindset and seeing the science to back it up has been huge for me. And now it's like, it's no longer a case of if I can do it, it's a case of choosing what I want to do and going after it. So that's game changer number 2 for me, just understanding that really you have a lot more ability than you realize. It doesn't really come down to innate ability, it's more to do with deliberate practice, choice, and just going after something. Game changer number 3 is all about being the CEO of your life. So previously, I was the kind of guy that would kind of go in one direction for like 2 or 3 weeks, maybe get a bit bored and be like, ah, this looks good, this glitter over here, this shiny object, I'll go in this direction now. And I treat my life in kind of like a random array of little kind of, I don't know, it wasn't following any kind of strategy, if you like. It was just kind of random directions. And you know, I was a terrible results getter because of that. I didn't have any kind of strategy. And somehow I came across the principle that you know, if you're running a business or if you're running some kind of company or organization, then you really think about the strategy of where you want that company to be in 2 years, 3 years, what marketing you want to be done, what products you want to release, you know, how you change the shape of that company over time to get the best result, to make the most money, make them be most profitable. And somehow I kind of read about the idea of applying this to my life, and it just completely changed the way I structure my life now. So previously I was very, very random. So, I have this problem, I'm not very good at, let's say, video presentation. I'll make a few videos. But then a few weeks later I get bored and I'll bounce onto something else. Now it's much more strategic. Now I'm looking 2, 3, 4 years ahead, and I'm thinking, okay, here are the skills that I need to get to where I want to go. And in order to get those skills, I need to run projects. And what I tend to do now is I run projects one at a time. So a recent project that I ran was procrastination. I was procrastinating quite a lot in certain areas, and I didn't really understand why I was procrastinating and what procrastination was. So I did a procrastination project. I bought a bunch of books, I took notes of them, I learned about procrastination, I did the exercises, and over the course of 2 months, I pretty much solved my procrastination. I no longer procrastinate in those areas. So I ran a project very deliberately for a certain period of time, something I never used to do. But it's all forming part of this bigger picture, this bigger strategy that I want to apply to my life. I know where I want to be in 4 years, and now I'm just kind of moving the chess pieces into position in order to make that happen. That's something that has been distinctly lacking from my life up until this point. Nobody really taught me that before. A major discovery. It's kind of like a eureka aha moment. And now, whereas before I was terrible at getting results, now I'm getting results. Another example of this, I'm going to do a video about this soon. Recently I decided I was going to try and become a faster typer. I'm already typing pretty fast. I already type about 110 words per minute. But I wanted to see if I could get that up. So I ran a project to improve my typing. I applied deliberate practice, and I've just been doing this consistently over the last 25 days, and already I've got results on that. Already I'm about 10 words per minute faster. I just wouldn't have got those results before because it wouldn't have been such a deliberate decision, such a strategic, deliberate decision, and so I wouldn't have followed through. I would have somehow, you know, done it for a few days and forgotten that I was supposed to do that and bounce onto something else. It would have been much more random. And the key to getting results really is habit and consistency. And that's something that's been massive for me in the last year. So that realization has really changed my ability to make things happen in my life. As a parting thought to this video, I want to just quickly talk about something that just kind of crossed my mind. I always used to think that I did self-development. And you know, it's fair to say I did read a few books. I remember reading How to Win Friends and Influence People years ago, and also read The Dip by Seth Godin, read a few of Seth Godin's books actually. And you know, I always thought, yeah, I do self-development, you know, I read a few books, whatever. But what I'm beginning to realize is that, like, there's a difference between reading a few self-development books and doing self-development, like properly studying self-development. And I think the key reason why now all of a sudden I'm experiencing changes is because I'm not just kind of putting my toe into the water here. In the last year, I've just kind of done a flipping huge belly dive straight into the water and just immersed myself in it. Like every day pretty much I've been reading, taking notes, or doing something, watching videos. And I feel like that kind of immersion is what's necessary to really bring the changes that you need to make in your life with self-development. So that's something that I just noticed. And if you feel like you want to get started with self-development, then take that on board. Try and rather than just sporadically read a book here and there, do something every day, make it a habit. And I feel like that immersion is probably the key to what's been working so well for me and will probably work well for you too. So that concludes my 1 year update. Stay tuned for this channel because I have a really interesting video coming up soon where I talk about how I increased my typing speed by about 10 to 15 words per minute in 25 days. So stay tuned and I'll see you in the next video.